Gen Z is crashing out, giving up, and they're just over it. And who can blame them?
We should not be working like this. I work my ass off and I can't even fucking pay bills, bro.
They're not just frustrated. They're literally checking out because from their perspectives, everything is stacked against them.
Go to college, get a degree, you'll get a great paying job, you'll have this amazing, fantastical life. And now that's something that is almost impossible for our generation.
The cost of living keeps going up, housing prices are out of control, and wages have not kept up.
The cost of living in this country is currently, it's not going to be, it is currently unsustainable. And there are people that they know this, but then they'll still look at somebody else that's struggling and then tell them they're not doing good enough.
This seems like the first generation has just been hit right in the face with the American dream just doesn't exist anymore, if it ever really did in the first place.
And they want 20% of my income. 20% of my income? That is like an insane amount of money. I feel like I took bad advice as an 18-year-old and now I'm paying for it for like the rest of my life.
But I'm June, welcome to the channel. Please like and share the video. Don't forget to sub. Now, let's get into it.
I'm fucking stressed out. I'm fucking stressed. We should not be working like this. I work my ass off and I can't even fucking pay bills, bro. And they always say don't compare yourself to others, but I see people going to Coachella and fucking like buying all types of shit, this pointless fuck you money, and I'm over here can't even fucking pay my fucking rent, bro.
If you've ever struggled before, then you know exactly how this feels. I remember going to college thinking I was going to graduate with a great job, high salary, ended up at an entry-level job working like $30K with a baby on the way. There were absolutely times I couldn't pay my rent, and as a matter of fact, I started tattooing on the side just so I would have enough money after I paid my rent to pay my car note, to pay my insurance, and to have a little bit of food to make it to the next check. So it absolutely sucks. It's depressing and defeating when you feel like you're doing everything right, everything you should be doing, and you still can't get ahead because the system is rigged against you. If salaries aren't going up, but everything else is, how is anybody supposed to keep up, especially in this economy?
My experience since graduating college has been an absolute slap in the face. And I did everything right. I networked, I applied online. The only interviews I got were for MLM companies where in the interview you realize it's nothing like the job description. So what do? I get to the point where I just need income. I get a cafe job. And for what? Because I will never afford a house. I will never afford kids in this country. Like, what are we doing? Like, whatever, dude. I do not have high hopes. And also, add to that, I'm one medical emergency away from being finished, just buried under generational debt. Like, what are we doing here? What's going on? Nothing works. What are we doing? Nothing works. If you're in college, enjoy it and be open to the idea that your degree will open no doors for you. I'm so sorry, but be open to that idea so it doesn't hit you as hard as it hit me.
Also, social media is just one of the worst things to happen to younger generations because we always knew there were people living good lives. I remember Tupac had a lyric, while the rich kids driving Benz, I'm just trying to hold on to surviving friends. We always knew people lived a different life, didn't worry about money, families took care of them, had nice cars, nice houses, all that we couldn't afford. But seeing it every day, seeing people travel the world every day while you're struggling will definitely make you lose your shit like she is.
Y'all, I'm only 25 years old, but I have been mad my whole life because very rarely has there been anything to look forward to. And I feel like when I was in school, like I still had hope, but now as an adult and even having more knowledge and ways to navigate the world, I don't feel any sense of hope at all, or like a purpose, or like something motivating to keep doing what I have to do in order to survive. Because the entry to get into a job is horrible. The amount of jobs available is horrible. Even if you get a job, a lot of people are getting layoffs. You never have the security. But okay, the entry, like they're paying pennies to start. And then it's like, okay, you just got to work your way up. Okay, cool. Right? Whatever. Sucks, but you know, people say that they also did it. Okay. But But then the boomers aren't leaving. Like the older people are not retiring, and it's either because they can't let go of the power or they genuinely can't because they cannot afford to retire.
I noticed that too before I resigned from my job. People are in their 60s and 70s still working at these high supervisory senior level positions.
Baby boomers report that they are not going to retire. They actually want to go to.
This is already an issue and is going to continue to be a problem as we move into the next 5 to 10 years. Half of boomers really should already be retired at this point, but we're seeing a lot of barriers to that. And while they do carry the majority of the wealth, there's still too many of them who still need to work in some cases, and a lot of them want to work, as this article points out.
Which means that if they're hanging on to those seats, there is no upward mobility in some cases. No matter how good you do at your job, there's nowhere else to go unless you leave an organization for another organization or company. It does create a corporate ladder traffic jam.
So you're telling me I'm going to spend several years in the same position, and all I'm doing is working so that I can have a place to sleep at night or a place to be at if I'm not at work, and I'm only working to pay off a car that I'm required to have. But I don't care what y'all say, bus, this and that. A lot of our communities do not have the best bus systems. Like what would take me 15-20 minutes to get to will take an hour plus to get to with a bus. So we're paying off cars, but we're paying off cars to get to that job. To get to that job or to buy basic necessities like groceries, because again, not everything is walkable, not everything is bikeable or whatever. And we're also using that money to pay for our car insurance, to pay for car maintenance, for gas.
Yeah, that's called adulting. I remember as a kid, I couldn't wait to be an adult. Now I'm like, what the fuck? Nobody told me being an adult was just stupid and paying bills and trying to get ahead if you can. That's all it is.
Going towards that. It's going towards food or clothes or medical, dental, like, I'm going $6,000 on my face right now.
I know there's a lot of people that are probably called Gen Z spoiled because it seems like they have every opportunity or resource in the world. They grow up with technology and social media. They can order food from their phones. But at the same time, as a millennial, I remember older generations calling us spoiled because people liked avocado toast and Starbucks coffee. That millennials live through so much crazy stuff, like so many canon events. A lot of people lived through the OJ trial, Pac and Biggie dying, Y2K, 9/11, then the recession, Obama, Trump, COVID, Trump again. I mean, we've lived through it. And as millennials who graduated anywhere during or after the Great Recession, it was almost impossible to find a job. And you definitely weren't going to find a job that was going to pay you what you thought your degree earned you right out the gate. Property values were all jacked up, but money was cheap, and your credit and everything else had to be really good to qualify to buy a property at that time. So it's not the crazy prices that we have now, but there were still difficulties for millennials especially. Now, I'm not comparing trauma to trauma. The generation before Gen Z had it hard too.
Please tell me that as a Gen Z that just recently graduated college, that there are going to be other people that feel this way too. With how the economy has been and with what our parents and grandparents told us for almost our whole lives of like, hey, go to college, get a degree, you'll get a great paying job, you'll have this amazing, fantastical life. And now they flip the switch on us, and now that's something that is almost impossible for our generation, and even millennials as well, and the future generations, like the alpha generation.
I was gonna say that millennials got hit with that same BS life plan. Go to college and everything will work out, and that wasn't the case for a lot of people. A lot of millennials had to find other ways to get ahead, and some still aren't where their parents were at their age.
I am so hopeless as a Gen Z with the fact that with my student loans, which are over $100,000 because college is that expensive, I can't even afford to move to, a new city and a new state that I dreamed of doing after graduating college with, a solid paying job. I now have no choice but to move back home with my parents and live with them for several years to save up money. But then in reality, what money will I be saving when I'll have to be paying $1,100 every month for my student loan payments because I owe over $100,000 in student loan debt?
$1,100 a month should be criminal. That is insane.
I just looked at my student loans. Who let an 18-year-old take out loans? Oh my God. It's so ridiculous. The interest rate is insane. My loans are at $60K right now. I'll end up paying over double that by the end of my loan. Like that's, oh my God. I didn't even finish school. I did 3 years of college, and I'm going to end up paying $120,000 for a degree I don't even have. I'm 38 years old. I'm never going to own a house. I'm going to be in debt the rest of my life. I didn't even want to go to college. I wanted to do like a 2-year school, but everyone made me feel like an idiot for not going to a university. $120,000 of debt for what? And they want 20% of my income. 20% of my income? That is like an insane amount of money. I feel like I took bad advice as an 18-year-old and now I'm paying for it for like the rest of my life. All right, well, that was my nightly bedtime crash out. Have a good night.
How am I supposed to even live a life? How am I even supposed to have a solid paying job where I can afford to both pay off my student loan debt payments every month and also eventually afford my own place when the average rent for most cities and places are at least $1,500 for a single bedroom apartment? Let alone, don't even get me started on how worried I am that I won't even have a future, that I'm just gonna be slaved away in America working until the day I die, right? Because they wanna increase retirement to 70 years old.
As of right now, the average first-time home buyer is 40 years old. That's with inflation, interest, and home prices being what they are. Who knows what the future looks like, honestly? There could be a correction, things could break the right way, or they could continue along this same chaotic path of unaffordability.
Cleveland is such a money-hungry, shitty city, bro. And if you don't know what's going on right now with CMSD, the school district has laid off over 400 teachers and counting in the last 48 hours. So over 400 teachers have woken up in the last 48 hours without their career. And I just left the parent-teacher conference at my son's school, and my son's teacher was one of them. And it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart for her and her family and her life. And it breaks my heart to know that she was such a staple of my son's life for the past year. And I've grown to know her, and I am just so heartbroken for her. And I can't believe that they can just come in here and take these people's jobs away because we are lacking money. Yet there's still people in office that's making 6-7 figures a year. There is a higher up for every single department, and there's departments that we don't even use. But the teachers that are here on the front line that are actually putting in the work to help develop these children and are the ones that's making an impact on the children's lives are the ones that's being cut. I
think we all can admit that everything just feels like trash right now, with the boomers being the only generation that's actually living good, and they kind of sold all the following generations down the river to do it.
I'm going to tell you about something that I learned not too long ago that I think really puts into perspective the sort of hopeless attitude of the younger generation. Maybe can help the older generation understand where we're coming from. So back in the day, my grandparents on my father's side were public school teachers. My grandmother taught elementary school, my grandfather taught high school. At the prime of their careers, the two of them combined were making, I don't know the exact number, but we'll say somewhere between $25,000 and $30,000 combined. So he was making now, say, $20,000 a year. And I think, honestly, that's on the high end. But we'll say it was $20,000 a year. On $20,000 in a year, he was able to buy a house, support a family of 4, buy 2 cars, send my father to private school on $20,000 a year. But he retired 10 years early on $20,000 a year.
Hopefully things change in the future, that we all start catching some breaks, especially the younger generations, so they don't just continue to feel hopeless, tap out, and give up. But shout out to my channel members. Thank you so much for supporting, and thanks for watching. Y'all let me know what you think about all this in the comments. Also, make sure you check out the next video, and don't forget to follow me on Instagram for behind the scenes and life stuff, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.